My name is Lynn, and I never imagined that leaving my small village in northern Vietnam to study computer science in Texas would lead me to discover Islam. This is my story. I was 20 years old when I first stepped off the plane at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport in August 2019. The heat hit me immediately, but it wasn't just the weather that overwhelmed me. Everything was different: the sounds, the smells, the faces. I had studied English for years, but hearing it spoken so fast by native speakers made me feel lost. My parents had saved every penny they could for my education. My father worked in a rice field, and my mother sold vegetables at the local market. They believed America would give me opportunities they never had. I carried that weight on my shoulders every single day. The first semester at the University of Texas at Arlington was brutal. I struggled with the language barrier in my engineering classes. Calculus and physics were hard enough in Vietnamese, but in English they felt impossible. I spent most nights in the library until it closed, then continued studying in my tiny dorm room. I was incredibly lonely. The other Vietnamese students had formed their own groups, but I was too shy to approach them. American students were friendly, but seemed to live in a completely different world. I ate instant noodles for most meals because I was too embarrassed to mispronounce food names at restaurants. By October, I was seriously considering going home. I called my parents crying, telling them I couldn't do it. My mother's voice broke when she said, "Con oi, we believe in you. Just try a little longer." That night, I prayed to my ancestors for strength, as my grandmother had taught me. The turning point came in November during my differential equations class. I was struggling with a particularly difficult problem when the girl sitting next to me, Amira, noticed my confusion. She had beautiful dark eyes and wore a colorful headscarf. She quietly explained the concept to me in simple English, drawing diagrams that made everything clear. After class, Amira approached me. "I'm Amira," she said with a warm smile. "I noticed you're working really hard. Would you like to study together sometime?" I was so grateful I almost cried right there in the hallway. Amira was a junior studying biomedical engineering. Her parents had immigrated from Morocco when she was young. She understood what it felt like to be caught between two cultures. We started meeting at the library twice a week, and slowly my grades began to improve. What struck me most about Amira was her calmness. Even during finals week, when everyone was stressed and exhausted, she remained peaceful. She would excuse herself 5 times a day for a few minutes, and I eventually learned she was praying. I was curious but didn't want to seem intrusive. One evening in December, while we were studying for our physics final, I finally asked her about her headscarf. "It's called a hijab," she explained gently. "It's part of my faith. I'm Muslim." She told me about Islam, about the 5 daily prayers, about finding peace and submission to Allah. I had never heard of Islam before. In Vietnam, I knew about Buddhism and Christianity, but Islam was completely foreign to me. Amira lent me a book called What Everyone Should Know About Islam and Muslims. I read it in one sitting that night. The concept that fascinated me most was the idea of a direct relationship with God. No intermediaries, no complex rituals, just you and your creator. In my Vietnamese Buddhist upbringing, there were always ancestors to honor, incense to burn, complex ceremonies to perform. The simplicity of Islamic prayer appealed to me. During winter break, I stayed on campus while most students went home. I couldn't afford the flight back to Vietnam. Amira invited me to spend Christmas Eve with her family. Her mother, Fatima, welcomed me like I was her own daughter. She cooked amazing Moroccan food and told me stories about her own journey to America. That evening, I watched Amira's family pray together. There was something beautiful about the way they stood in rows, moving in unison, reciting Arabic words I didn't understand but felt in my heart. The peace on their faces during prayer was something I had never seen before. I started asking Amira more questions about Islam. She never pressured me, never made me feel like I had to convert. She simply answered my questions with patience and kindness. She explained the 5 pillars, the concept of jihad, as an internal struggle to be better, the importance of charity and community. What really moved me was learning about the Prophet Muhammad's treatment of women, orphans, and strangers. In my culture, women were often expected to be quiet and submissive, but Islam taught that women were equal in the eyes of Allah, with rights to education, work, and respect. In January 2020, I attended my first Friday prayer at the campus mosque. I sat in the back, wearing a borrowed hijab, listening to the imam speak about patience and perseverance. He talked about how Allah tests those he loves and how difficulties are opportunities for growth. It felt like he was speaking directly to me. The Muslim community at the university was incredibly diverse. Students from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Indonesia, and American converts. They welcomed me without question, inviting me to study groups and social events. For the first time since arriving in America, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I spent months reading the Quran, attending Islamic study circles, and learning about the religion. The more I learned, the more it resonated with me. The emphasis on knowledge and education aligned with my goals. The requirement to help the poor reminded me of my parents' struggles. The concept of brotherhood and sisterhood gave me the family I missed so desperately. The hardest part was telling my parents. In May 2020, during a video call, I finally found the courage. Me, Ba, I have something important to tell you. I've decided to become Muslim. The silence was deafening. My mother started crying. My father's face went pale. What have we done wrong? My mother asked. Did we not raise you properly? I tried to explain that Islam hadn't taken me away from them, but had made me a better daughter. I told them about the emphasis on respecting parents, about how the Quran says paradise lies at the feet of mothers. But they couldn't understand. They felt like they were losing me to a foreign religion. The next few months were difficult. My parents barely spoke to me during our weekly calls. My grandmother, who had always been my strongest supporter, refused to talk to me at all. I felt torn between my new faith and my family's disappointment, but my Muslim friends supported me through everything. Amira's mother called me every week to check on me. The imam at the mosque counseled me about maintaining family relationships while staying true to my faith. The community became my second family. On July 15th, 2020, I officially converted to Islam at the campus mosque. I recited the Shahada in Arabic and then in English. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. The feeling of peace that washed over me was indescribable. I chose the name Amina, which means trustworthy in Arabic. It felt like a new beginning, a chance to be the person I was meant to be. I started wearing hijab, and surprisingly, it made me feel more confident, not less. I was no longer worried about how I looked or what others thought of my appearance. My academic performance improved dramatically. The discipline required for 5 daily prayers gave structure to my entire day. I woke up for Fajr prayer before sunrise, which gave me quiet time to study. The afternoon prayers provided breaks that refreshed my mind. In my junior year, I started volunteering at a local food bank with other Muslim students. Giving back to the community became an essential part of my faith. I also began tutoring other international students who were struggling, remembering how lost I had felt my first year. Gradually, my relationship with my parents began to heal. I continued to call them every week, asking about their health, sending money when I could. I showed them through my actions that Islam had made me more caring, not less. My mother eventually admitted that I seemed happier and more focused. When I graduated summa cum laude in May 2023, with my computer science degree, my parents were proud despite their reservations about my faith. They couldn't argue with the results. I had achieved everything they had hoped for and more. Today, I work as a software engineer in Austin. I've been able to send money home regularly, helping my parents renovate their house and supporting my younger brother's education. I pray 5 times a day, fast during Ramadan, and plan to perform Hajj when I can afford it. Looking back, I realized that Allah guided me to Islam through the challenges I faced. My loneliness led me to Amira, who became my sister in faith. My struggles with English made me appreciate the beauty of Arabic prayers. My homesickness taught me that home isn't just a place. It's where you find peace and purpose. Islam didn't take me away from my Vietnamese heritage. Instead, it gave me a framework to be proud of who I am while striving to be better. I still love Vietnamese food, speak Vietnamese with my family, and honor my parents as the Quran commands. My journey from a small village in Vietnam to finding Islam in Texas taught me that Allah's guidance can come from anywhere, at any time. Sometimes the path we think we're on leads us exactly where we need to be, even if it's not where we expected to go. To anyone listening who feels lost or searching for meaning, I want you to know that it's okay to question, to explore, to seek truth wherever it may lead you. Trust in Allah's plan even when you can't see the whole picture. He knows what's best for you, and He will guide you if you sincerely seek His guidance. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all the worlds.